Hello and welcome. My name is Carol Carter and I'm with Celeste Gardner from Global Minded. We're delighted that you could join us this morning. This is our first official launch of our Global Minded 2020 event. This week's programs feature a number of different sessions on equity in higher education. We'll be taking our 2020 virtual event through June 15th this year. So you can find out about each of our different programs in our newsletter, or you can check our website and sign up for events like today. So we are, in case you aren't familiar with Global Minded, we're about creating a capable, diverse talent pipeline to get more women, people of color, underrepresented, first generation to college, into the education, employment, economic mobility, and leadership pipeline. We do that in a number of different ways, and one of those ways is our annual convening, which this year is virtual. The silver lining of this event this year is that we have a YouTube channel called Global Minded Event 2020, and all of the different sessions that we're doing are categorized on that YouTube channel. So you can share this session with your colleagues or with your students after it's over, and that has been a real positive. Doesn't quite outweigh our ability to see you all in person this year. So we appreciate you pivoting with us during COVID-19. And today's session, we're in for a treat today. It's called Beyond the Degree, a movement to democratize opportunity. And we have three fabulous experts. We are very lucky to be located in Denver, Colorado. We work nationally and globally. And we have many people here in Colorado that have a lot of great models for other things we're able to do elsewhere. So you're going to get some perspectives from the different people featured, but we're going to start today with somebody who is a first generation to college role model. I know many of you work with first generation students, and we like to really provide many of those role models in the people we feature in our newsletters and also the people we feature in these sessions. So Dr. Angie Paccione grew up in the South Bronx of New York City. As a biracial young girl, Angie excelled in academics and athletics, and she earned a full-ride athletic scholarship to Stanford University. After playing for the USA for Stanford, for humanitarian teams, and in the Women's Professional Basketball League, Angie pursued a career in education. She taught at the secondary level, where she also became the first woman in Colorado to coach a boys' varsity sport at the large school classification. Angie earned her PhD in Education and Human Resource Studies and became a professor. At Colorado State University, Dr. Paccione pursued a research agenda that included learning and development, diversity and inclusion, and leadership and change management. In 2002, Angie was inspired to pursue public office and served 2 terms as a state representative in the Colorado General Assembly. In 2006, she ran for Congress, losing by just 2.5% against the incumbent. Since 2007, she has worked with the award-winning management consulting company Veris Global, where she works with companies like Gillette, P&G, Nestle, NBC Universal, and many others to inspire, motivate, and equip individuals with performance-based strategies. And we've been lucky enough, since Governor Polis has taken office, that she is in charge of the Colorado Department of Higher Education. And so you will see in the team that's here today how, in Angie's experience, she can really build that bridge among educators, employers, and government resources and individuals. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Paccione, and she's going to share with you the other panelists who are part of today's topic. So thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you. Just having a little trouble getting in, but I got in, so I'm excited to be here with you and with everyone.
Welcome.
Yes, thanks. And we're excited for this panel presentation today. We hope that it will inspire you and give you also some provocative questions and things to think about. And so before I start with kind of opening us up, I would love to have my co-panelists introduce themselves. So can we also get the video for Vanecia Kerr from College Track, Colorado, and Therese Ivancovich. So they will introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vanecia Kerr, and I am the Regional Executive Director with College Track Colorado. I'm very happy to be here and to join my fellow panelists on this very important subject. A little bit about me is that my parents did not have a four-year degree, but they were hardworking individuals and they provided a really good life for me. But what's really important is that they instilled in me the importance of an education. And my mother would always tell me that she was going to go to this many graduations, and she would always remind me of how many graduations she was going to attend. And I remember that even when I was a young girl growing up, that my mother would always count off, okay, that was one, and then we're gonna have the next one, and then there's going to be a next one. And as a result of the importance that they placed on education, I did end up obtaining my bachelor degree in political science and a master's degree in nonprofit management. And I worked 20 years in the corporate sector before making a very, very important decision that it was time for me to leave the corporate sector and that I wanted to spend the last half of my career really focused on the nonprofit sector, and particularly working in education at the grassroots level. And it was important to me to find organizations that would allow me to demonstrate my commitment to ensuring educational equity within our community. And that's how I landed at College Track, which is an amazing organization that I'll talk about a little bit later. But that's a little bit about me and my background.
That was great. Hi, Therese Ivancovich. I am the Executive Director for the Denver Education Attainment Network, and thrilled to be here this morning to talk about some of the work we're doing here in Colorado. A little bit of my background. I grew up on a small organic apple orchard in Northern California, and my parents had 2 dimes between the two of them and said to their 3 girls, you know, take a look around. What do you want to be? And if you want to kind of move out of this small farming community, you're going to have to work really hard and support yourself and get scholarships and figure out a system that we don't know a lot about. And so I really look at education as a way that I was able to kind of move to and through, but really needed a lot of support figuring out systems because my parents didn't have the information or resources to help me figure it out. And so I now work in an organization that really thinks about connecting those systems for students, and specifically low income and students of color, thinking about how we connect pathways to high value credentials and workforce opportunities, really taking the onus off of students and really thinking about clearing paths so that the system works for students rather than students working for a system. And so I am really excited here today to talk about kind of partnership and how we work with organizations to clear those paths, and the role we have with state partners like Colorado Department of Higher Education and Angie's team, and nonprofit attainment focused partners like Vanecia's team with College Track. And so Carol, thanks for having us here today.
Great, and thank you. And you know, I came in right at the tail end as Carol was sharing a little bit of my bio, but I grew up in the South Bronx in New York, and my mom was a single teenage African-American girl when she had my older brother and myself. And so when you think about the environment that we are all in, and as we grow up, you can see 3 completely different environments, and yet each of us were able to activate our potential to become the thing that we wanted to become. And so that's the part of what inspires me, is to make sure that we create the conditions for young people to activate their potential. When we think about what's happening right now in the state of Colorado, and unfortunately it's been a very persistent, very stubborn problem for the state, is that we have not done a great job at doing that. We haven't done a great job at activating the potential of our students of color in particular. And so we have an attainment gap and we think about attaining that credential, whether it's a 1-year certificate, a 2-year associate's degree, or a 4-year bachelor's degree, or even higher. The attainment rate in Colorado is sitting at about 58% total for the entire state. We have a goal of getting to 66% by 2025 for the entire state, and those are adults in the state, age 25 to 34. So we check and see, okay, what did young people achieve by the time they hit that adulthood, that early adulthood, 25 to 34. 58% is where we are now. We need to get to 66, but truly we need to get to about 74 or 75% because that's what the marketplace needs. They need 75%. 3 out of every 4 employees have to have a credential to have a well-paying job. So if that's where our goal is, ultimately 75%, let's look at the students of color. African-American students right now, the attainment rate is about 40%. 40% of adults, African-American adults aged 25 to 34 have a credential. Only about 30% of Hispanic and Latinx adults and about 30% of Native American adults. And so we have such a long way, such a persistent gap, and it's been there for quite a while. So it's up to us to move this gap forward and not only to graduate, but then to prepare students for the next step so that they are contributing to our talent pipeline in the state. I had the great opportunity this past weekend to fly back to Philadelphia for my niece, who her parents, my brother and his wife, are not college graduates. So she's a first generation graduate from the University of Pennsylvania, and she has decided now to go to law school. So the pathway for her is being activated so that she can become a successful adult, if you will, in our society. So that talent pipeline is so critical. So I want to start with the first question, and that question is, what are you doing in your work to really promote this homegrown talent pipeline so that we can see that progression of our young people into the world of work and making such a critical difference in our talent pipeline for the state? So what are you doing, and maybe what more can be done? And let's start with Therese.
Great. So thanks, Angie. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this homegrown talent, the work that we're doing here in Denver. And I think, we really ground our work in equity. So homegrown talent for us starts with equity at its core. So what are the strategies that we are employing to ensure that low income and students of color have an opportunity and the system works for them in moving to those high value credentials that Angie alluded to. So we heard about the stark education, the stark educational equity gaps. We heard about what Colorado jobs are requiring for those kind of family living wage jobs. They're requiring some type of post-secondary. So you have large equity gaps, and yet the economy is demanding post-secondary. And then this is all exacerbated by COVID-19, where you're seeing these huge job layoffs. I was listening to a speaker on Monday talking about some statistics where 22% of layoffs are for no high school degree or high school degree, and yet only 8.5% of layoffs are bachelor degrees. So again, you see kind of a continue of that educational attainment gap. And and we think about what is our role and how do we partner with institutions and nonprofit partners and the state and policy organizations to kind of close those gaps and create systems. And so I'll talk really briefly about what that work looks like. So our work really focuses on clearing paths and aligning systems into pathway models that lead to this high value credential completion, which allows opportunities and workforce that lead to family living wage. So what does a clear path mean? Like what does that mean? So a clear path is a path that's aligned to workforce demand, where your college courses or your high school concurrent enrollment courses are aligned. So every time you're taking a course on a path, it's leading you in a direction to completion. It is aligning workforce experiences, so it's relevant, so there's relevancy along that path, and it's kind of hugging or surrounding you with embedded support. So as you're traveling along the path, you're not going to fall off. And if you get off, you can jump right back on. And so we work with partners to clear that path. So it's removing barriers. So whether those are policy barriers or institutional barriers or alignment barriers, we look to work collaboratively in aligning experiences. So that's working from high school through technical college, through community college, through four-year colleges on building long and extended pathways. So you can, start at high school, get a technical college degree, and then kind of move into an AA or move into a bachelor's if you so choose as your work progresses. So I think that we think about this clearing and strengthening paths so students don't fall off. And it makes the system clear. It makes it easier to see the path and why, the relevance of why we do. And it improves outcomes first for low income and students of color, because those are the students that the system isn't designed for. And then improving outcomes for low income and students of color, it improves outcomes for all. And so again, identifying barriers, breaking down silos, connecting partners on a common strategy, and it's a pathway strategy to high value credential completion.
Thank you for that. And we are Vanecia.
Yes.
What are you doing? And also what more can be done?
Yes, Dr. Paccione. I'll take this time to share a little bit about College Track and what we are doing related to this particular challenge. At College Track, the work that we do starts in 9th grade. We start working with students immediately after they finish 8th grade and middle school, and we start working with them early in 9th grade. Actually, it starts at the summer before 9th grade, where our students enter our program. And the students who are entering our program apply to be a part of our program. They know that they want to obtain a 4-year degree because they see for themselves a particular career that they are interested in. They want to learn more. They want to figure out how to get there. And what College Track does is we provide for them comprehensive support all along the way at each step in their journey. Our program is really focused on making sure that our students understand that this is a chance for them to achieve opportunity, choice, and power. That's what this is really about. We provide for them a 10-year promise that we're going to be with them from 9th grade all the way through college graduation. And for those of you that are doing the math, some may say college graduation is 4 years and high school is 4 years, that only comes to 8 years. However, what we also know is that the students that we serve are coming from underserved backgrounds. And for many students anyway, no matter what background they come from, they may not graduate from college between 4 and 6 years is what seems to be realistic for many students. But no matter where they are in their journey, College Track is going to be there with them all along the way. And that includes everything from academic support. It includes student life and wellness support, which really aligns with helping them understand who they are and how do they fit into society. It helps them understand how they can volunteer and serve their community even while they're in high school and college. And what that does is helps to instill within them that once they get that degree, the work doesn't stop there. They continue to serve and support communities. The other pieces of our program also include our wellness component, where with the wellness component, what we're doing is we're making sure that students know that they have wraparound supports that help them with their social and emotional needs. So it's everything from understanding who they are, how they fit in society, and then also making sure that their mental health is stable, that they know how to balance the stresses of life. Those are included within our program as well, in addition to the academic supports that include, the tutoring and the SAT prep and the ACT prep. And all of those things that we know that they're going to need to ensure that they're adequately prepared for college work. And then, of course, we need to help them get to college, right? So what that also means is that we are working with them starting in 9th grade so that they have the opportunity to visit colleges, both in-state and out-of-state. We're also working with our partners at the college level to make sure that we understand what is it going to take to get them to that college. And what that means is we want to make sure that our students are prepared for the work and the rigor that they will experience once they're in college, because we know that that's going to ensure that their persistence in getting not only to college, but through college, because of all of the things that Dr. Paccione has highlighted and Therese has highlighted of the importance of this work and ensuring that students have that credential that they need above the high school level. And our program, as I said, is fully comprehensive. So that includes also scholarships that we provide, and we help them identify scholarships as well. I always tell people when they want to learn about our program that anything that you think you would want to provide to your child is what we're doing through College Track. And it's opening the doors. It's making sure they have the college visits. It's making sure they understand like what it's going to take. And even while they're in college, it's making sure they're taking the right classes that are leading to the degree, and that they are really focused on the end game and what this is really about. Because it's not just about having a degree for the sense of having a degree. It's all of the things that you've already heard from my fellow co-panelists. It's about making sure that they have choice when they graduate of where they can go and what they can do. And some of our results at College Track is that 90% of our students, first of all, are first generation college graduates. And over 90% of them are students of color. Here in Colorado, we serve over 500 students here in Colorado, but we're a national program. So we serve over 3,000 students in 11 communities across the country. And in terms of our outcomes, almost 80% of our college graduates are employed within 6 months of graduation. And what's even more impressive about that is that over 75% of those students are actually employed in roles that are aligned with their career interests in education, which you hear all of these stats that, oh, you know, students, what's the value of a degree if they can't find a job in their field? Our students are finding jobs that are aligned with their interests and their education. And we want to make sure that we're ensuring that these students, they have those credentials that they need to connect their talents with the workforce. And we partner with them all along the way to make sure that that happens. Because what we already know is that talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. So you've heard that before, and we know at College Track, we need to provide our students with the opportunity so that they can achieve their dreams and their goals. And we believe that this is how you address equity in education. You create a space for opportunity for all people that is fair and impartial. So that's the work that we're doing. And that's why we believe that it is so important that we lean in and support students in a way that help them accomplish their goals.
Thank you for that. And you know, those last few words really created that, what we are talking about, democratizing potential, when it's fair and it's equitable and everyone has a chance to succeed. And right now, you know, we have to do even more to create the conditions to make sure that everyone succeeds. And so a program like College Track, an organization like Dean, to really have an alliance and a network to help students succeed. And when we think about potential, it's one of my favorite words, and we think about, for me, activating that potential. Unfortunately, there are many people who never have their potential activated. It remains unactivated. Not necessarily because they didn't have the ambition, but because there weren't the conditions to help them succeed. And then there are others whose potential becomes deactivated because someone or something says, no, you can't, or you don't have enough, or we can't do this for you. And so potential gets deactivated. It's up to us to really do what's necessary to fully activate and democratize potential. At the Department of Higher Education, that's what we strive to do to support our institutions and for the government. And so one of the things that we do is we provide $200 million of financial aid. So students, and most of that is need-based financial aid. In fact, I just learned yesterday, we're the #1 state in the country in terms of how much we allocate to need-based financial aid as a state. So the money is there. We have invested in our young people to say, please fill out your FAFSA. And I know you guys help with that. Fill out your FAFSA, find out what you qualify for, apply for state financial aid, apply for institutional financial aid, and then of course the federal financial aid through the FAFSA. And so that gives young people the opportunity, those who are low income, to say, it's not because I can't afford it, because now I have the support, the financial support to do it. And so those are ways, that's one way. And then with policy, the Department of Higher Education uses policy as a way to increase that democratization and to increase equity. That is one of our passions, one of our 4 major objectives for higher education in the state of Colorado. Help people attain that credential, make sure that it's equitable, make sure that students of color and low-income students are also achieving those credentials, make sure that college is affordable, and then provide those structures of support for our young people as they make the transition from high school to college, and then from college into the workplace. And so we have collaborations, and we'll talk in a minute about collaborations, but it's critical that we democratize potential and that we activate it for all students. So,
I love that, activate potential. And I think what we're going to now talk a little bit about how we use partnership to activate potential across organizations. That's a perfect segue. Thanks, Angie. One of the things we talk a lot about at Denver Education Attainment Network is this notion that no government program or nonprofit or policy by itself can solve these complex issues around educational attainment and economic mobility. And so it's really incumbent upon us to look at strategies of partnership to move work forward and to create opportunity and to create environments and systems that support the activation of potential. So I'd love starting with Vanecia, just talking about this nature of partnership and kind of what are you seeing as innovations, kind of these partnerships, innovative partnerships that are improving educational outcomes and closing equity gaps. What is College Track doing? What are you excited about? Love to hear some of your thoughts.
Yes, absolutely, Therese. Thanks so much. And I highlighted a little bit about what College Track is doing and that our program is fully comprehensive. What I'll also share at this point as it relates to partnerships is that, of course, partnerships are critically important in the work that we do. When we have students across the country, here in Colorado as well, who 100% of them this year were accepted into a 4-year college. We were really excited about that. And what we have seen with College Track is historically, our students are outpacing the national average in terms of college graduation. As a matter of fact, it's more than 2 times the national average of students graduating from college in 4 to 6 years, especially students who are coming from the demographic that we serve. Those are underserved communities and also students who are first-generation college graduates. So as those students are matriculating through college, they need a variety of supports. And the supports are not only the types of things that we provide to them one-on-one, it's other things that we know that our students are going to need, such as internships. We know that they're going to need summer jobs. We know that when they graduate from college, as I mentioned before, they're going to need permanent full-time jobs. And in order for us to be in the best place to support those students in achieving those outcomes, we need to make sure that we have the right partnerships locally and nationally that would allow us to leverage those partnerships to create opportunities for our students. So those include partnerships at the corporate level. It also includes our higher education institutions. And of course, it's our donors. Our donors are very important to us because that's how we fund like what we're doing. Our program is funded through the generous support of individuals and corporations and foundations who are helping to support our work. So we know that what's happening is extremely critical from a partnership perspective. And each of these groups, from the corporate sector to the higher education institutions to individuals and donors, each of them have a role that, that they can play in helping us to move things forward. So I mentioned internships because, of course, like companies are the ones who are providing these internships primarily. So having relationships with companies that are, genuinely interested in tapping into the talent that we have been molding since 9th grade has been very impactful for us as an organization. We also have incredible partners who help to hire our students like right after college. We also have a corporate residency program, which exposes our students while they're in college to a variety of different industries and fields that they may be interested in pursuing once they graduate from college or potentially applying for an internship. What I know Dr. Paccione and Therese know is that with our students, many of them are aspiring to careers that they have not seen in real life. Maybe they've seen it on TV, but they don't know anyone in their family that is an engineer. They're first generation college graduates, and in many times the first in their family to obtain a degree. So what we want to do is open doors so that they can see and talk to people who are actually working in these fields that they're aspiring to go to. And it's those kinds of partnerships that really make a difference in moving something from this is something that I read about to this is something that I can actually see myself doing, and knowing people who will be in those fields that they can connect with and creating a network for them that they did not have previously. And that's where like the partnerships come into play and are very important. And then on the other side, the last thing that I'll say is that with these partnerships, it also includes things that will help to support the work overall. So partnering with Dr. Paccione and the Department of Higher Education to understand what policy is being developed and how things are coming here in Colorado that will ultimately support students is also critically important. And then the work of Dean that Therese is doing and all of the things that she outlined, and keeping a pulse on all of that through the natural partnerships that me and my team are developing, that's important too. That will allow us to really positively impact educational equity. So we believe that we're all in this together. And it's not just College Track, it's not just Dean, it's not just the Department of Higher Education, it's not one company, it's all of us working together to move the needle and ensure educational equity, which it then, in the long run, helps to support our entire community and lift our economy up.
I love that comment, really thinking about partnership as driving and creating an educational ecosystem that leads to workforce and all of those supports around it, and also that relevancy, partnership for relevancy is, I love your comments and all of the work that you're doing at College Track. Angie, let's hear all of the state work I know you have your hands in so many things and really partnering in so many different ways, from the governor's office down to, the system, so let's hear what you're doing and how you're thinking about partnership at Colorado Department of Higher Education as you lead this work.
You bet. And so one of the things that the department does, because we really are a coordinating body, we're not a governing body, the department is. And so one of the things we do certainly is convene. We convene all of the stakeholders involved in higher education, from students all the way up to the presidents. And so we do that on a regular basis. And through that, we have an opportunity to send messages, if you will, or to encourage certain activities that are being done. One of the things that we did also at the department is to create the Office of Industry University Partnerships. And so this is a way to more intentionally bring these two groups together, because we want to make sure that our universities are preparing students for the workplace, and that the workplace is is letting industry know what's needed in that pipeline. When I did 12 years of working in industry, one of the comments I heard over and over was that those new hires, those first-year students out of college, were not prepared for the workplace. And so having that in my head for 12 years, when I came into this role, one of the things I really wanted to do, and in fact, it's one of my goals, is to have Colorado be the state where industry says that Colorado college graduates are the best prepared for the workplace. And one of the ways to do that is to increase those partnerships. And one of those are apprenticeships, or as Vanecia said, internships. And so sometimes we think of apprenticeships only in the field of labor, that when we think about a journeyman or somebody who is learning a trade, but there are high quality collegiate apprenticeships as well. In fact, Colorado got a grant about a year ago from the US Department of Labor to create 5,000 healthcare apprentice in the next 4 years. So we have these connections with our healthcare industry so that students who are interested in the healthcare field can have a well-paid, very high-paid apprenticeship during their career as a student as well. We, the community college system received also a Department of Education grant for apprenticeships in the area of cybersecurity. And so we have high quality collegiate apprenticeships that we want to make available to all students and democratize that access to those apprenticeships and internships. We work hand in hand with the Colorado Workforce Development Council and the Office of the Future of Work. And so together we're looking at the talent pipeline for the state of Colorado and saying, what do we need to do to make sure that our colleges are preparing students to fill those jobs that Colorado is going to have, and certainly the new jobs that we have right now. So all of those partnerships with third-party organizations, with our institutions, with our industry, that's, as you said, the ecosystem that will allow students to have access, to have opportunity, and then to also be successful so that they can see what they want to become and have a pathway to doing that. One quick story: when I was a state legislator, my oldest niece was, she was in 7th grade, and she called me up one day and she said, "Aunt Angie, I'm a representative just like you." And I said, what are you talking about? She said, "My class elected me as the class representative." And as Vanecia said, sometimes we can't see it until someone has done it in our family. And I'm sure she never thought about becoming a class representative, but when she saw that her aunt was a representative, it became a path that she said, "Oh, I'll do that." And so that's why it's so important to expose our students to the vast variety of occupational choices that they can have. So that's what we're all about.
I love it. And I'll just pipe in really quick with just 2 quick examples of innovative partnership, and then we'll get on to taking some questions from our panel. First, one is just our partnership with the Colorado Department of Higher Education. So really thinking about the CDHE is working on statewide initiatives, and Denver Education Attainment Network is working on regional initiatives, and ensuring that, you know, at where the state goes in the direction that Dr. Paccione works on, kind of driving us around innovation, around alignment, around relevancy, around work-based learning, that Dean is aligned in delivering from a regional perspective. So that state-regional connection is a really critical partnership in ensuring that we're moving in the same direction. One other kind of innovative partnership that we're seeing are, you know, we do a lot of work with our, you know, Denver Public Schools, Community College of Denver, Metro, CU Denver, Emily Griffith Technical College, and our nonprofit attainment-focused partners. But we're also doing work with non-traditional education partners like Mikasa Resource Center, and really thinking about how you can tap into the education and experiences of, you know, non-traditional training partners, and linking their work and their product to traditional credentials. And we're seeing, and for a couple of reasons. One, creating kind of these longer pathways. Two, really working hard to clear paths where you acknowledge learning and you give credit for all different types of learning. And 3, really saying that what you're doing and have done is valid, and we're going to give you some college credit and acknowledge you for work that you've done. And we're going to work on aligning it to a pathway so that you can see yourself, that relevancy, that potential as kind of moving along. Maybe you get your first credential and then can go to Community College of Aurora and get your next certificate that then will take you to a 4-year degree in banking at Metro. And so really extending how we think about post-secondary education and making sure we're pulling in different ways and different organizations that deliver value for communities, and not say, well, you do something different and therefore we can't value it. It's how do we become more inclusive in how we value and ensure that there are these longer pathways for all. But we're just really excited about this work, and I know that Vanecia is going to conduct some questions, some Q&A, so I'll let you take over. Bring us home.
Okay, thank you so much, Therese. This has been like such a great discussion. I love hearing from both of you on the work that you are doing to really move this challenge that we're having here in our community, move it forward. What we want to do now is we're going to open it up for some questions that you may have. Originally, we were thinking about doing a breakout room, which would allow people to have some smaller discussions in a breakout room fashion. However, our technology was not supportive of that today. So that's okay, because we know how to pivot. And we are going to open it up for questions. And I see that there are, I saw 2 questions that have come up already, and all you need to do is just type them in. There's a Q&A at the bottom of your screen, so you can type in your questions in the Q&A, and we will answer that. The first question that we have is coming from Taylor Kindle, and that is, what are you doing to be adaptive and responsive to ever-changing and increasingly automated labor market? So the question again is, what are you doing to be adaptive and responsive to ever-changing and increasingly automated labor market? Therese or Angie, do you want to answer that one?
I'll jump in. One of the things that that is really important to the Department of Higher Education is that we have the flexibility to be adaptive. And so our institutions of higher education, you know, they are accredited by an accreditation agency, and so sometimes it takes a while for the accreditation to run its course. And so at the department, and Vanecia, you know, at the commission, we try to move some of those the applications for new programs. We try to move those through the system as quickly as we can, so that the institutions can be responsive to the ever-changing needs of the labor market. And so sometimes they have to come up with a new program, or and then we have to make sure that we balance that across the state, and we don't have the kind of competition that will, you know, maybe cannibalize one program for the sake of another. And so having to balance all of those kinds of statewide priorities is important, but we are trying to do that as quickly as possible. And then we're also trying to say, how can we take some of the workforce competencies and see how can we give college credit for some workplace and work-based competencies that individuals, because now the average age of the college student has increased, and so people are lifelong learners, but they're bringing with them a set of competencies, and we want to be able to give them credit and accelerate their path toward that degree. So if we can do those things, be flexible, be agile, be quick with our processes, then that allows us to be responsive and adaptive.
You know, building on what Angie talked about, I think this notion about kind of building in quick industry certifications that that learners can utilize immediately while they're working through a longer degree, looking as our post-secondary partners kind of look at how to, give credit for prior learning, and also thinking about, I think as Angie talked about, is, there are some shifts, and looking at higher education is shifting to continue to become responsive and building that relevancy and continuing to build those relevancies around industry partnerships. So there's a real true relationship that higher education can respond to industry need, and industry is kind of helping shape what are some of those competencies, and then we're giving students the opportunity to build those competencies and get credit for those competencies as they move to and through. It's a good question, Taylor.
Thank you so much, Therese and Angie. The thing that I will add to this too, because we're seeing this with College Track, is that we have to be adaptive, and we have to be able to be responsive to what's going on around us and to the market that we're in. An example that I will highlight quickly is that with College Track, we had a student who, at the beginning of the COVID-19 health crisis, she was already involved in a health certificate program and decided to accelerate that certificate so that she could enter the health field immediately. She was able to complete her health certificate, and she is now working at a hospital here in Colorado. Of course, she's going to continue her education, but she saw an immediate need, which we are all seeing every day. And she was able to accelerate the program that she was in so that she could enter and be a part of the solution of what's happening in our state, in our cities, and in our country. So that's one way that we're seeing students are stepping up to address what's happening within our communities right now. And additionally, I have to say that I have an awesome team. They are always responsive and keeping their finger on the pulse of what's happening within our communities, and they're able to develop the right types of programming to support our students so that they can be in a place that they will be prepared for the workforce and for the market as it continuously evolves. So it's always like a evolving type of situation, but I have to say that I have an amazing team that's always looking at that and looking at ways in which to support students. So that was our first question. We have another question that's there too, so I'll go ahead and read that and then we'll respond to that one. This question comes from Lisa Shook, and the question is, can you talk about homegrown talent and why this is important or better for Colorado's workforce?
So I'll jump in really quick, and then I'll let Angie take it away. But I think for us, developing our own talent pipeline rather than importing our talent pipeline in is essential to creating communities where people feel relevant and valued and can participate. And so investing in our own talent, investing in our own people is what homegrown talent initiatives are about, rather than saying, well, we can find something faster or cheaper or better elsewhere. And I think sometimes putting that time and energy requires a refocus, but in the long run, we think about virtuous cycles and how creating talent and creating opportunity and tapping into potential can change how people view their own opportunities, how they could view their opportunities for their children, how they view opportunities for their communities. And so we fundamentally believe homegrown talent is what Denver Education Attainment is focused on, working with Denver Public Schools and ensuring Denver Public Schools students have access to, structure around opportunities for high value credentials, that they are serviced as they complete those, and those high value credentials lead to family living wage jobs. That is a strategy that is good for Denver. It is a strategy that is right for Colorado.
Thank you. You know, we know that from the statistics that those who complete a degree or complete a credential, first of all, they contribute more to their community. They rely less on public services, if you will. They're less of a drain on the society. And they participate in a civic way in our communities. And so they vote. And so these are folks who become engaged. Colorado is an importer state. So we actually import more students to our institutions of higher education than we send out to other states for higher ed. And so we want to bring people in, we want to grow our own, we want to make sure that our economy is vibrant, is one of the top in the country, and that there are jobs for everyone who pursues their personal passion and their purpose, if you will, and their pathway. And so, you know, I think it was attributed to JFK that a rising tide floats all boats. And so if we want to have a sustainable economy, an economy that works for everyone in Colorado, then we have to invest in our young people so that they complete high school and then that they complete a program of study, whether it's a one-year certificate. That's great. If you want to pursue a one-year certificate and get into the workforce right away, fantastic. Pursue it, but complete it. And that's where we find the most success, is when people complete what they start. We talked a little bit earlier about four-year, who completes in 4 years college. Only about 32 to 34% of college students complete in 4 years. In 5 years, it goes up to about 52%. And in 6 years, it's about 62%. So we know that it might take you 6 years. That's okay. The goal is to complete it and then get into the workforce and contribute to the economy and to your own sense of fulfillment, right? And so if we want people to be able to afford this great state that we have and everything that it offers, we want to make sure that our young people and our pipeline completes and graduates, earns their credential, and contributes to a growing economy in Colorado.
Well, excellent. We are so delighted to have you all here today. And I will also share that we'd love to explore further how can the global-minded community help you all by taking Colorado students and virtually or actually when we're post-COVID, getting them to Washington, D.C. with Ronald Reagan Institute, getting them to the UN General Assembly with our Foundation for Climate Restoration, getting them connected as all of us were connected to wind up in Colorado. We're all from different places. And however we can help with our networks to expand, you know, the world for Colorado students, we look forward to being able to do that through experiences and mentors. So great job. And any closing, do you all want to make maybe some closing remarks? And I'll say too that it looks like Alicia was raising her hand. So Alicia, if you want to put your question in, that would be great, because I'm not even sure in the raising your hand. Our conference director is sick right now, what you even do with the raising the hand function. So if you want to just type in Alicia, but would love to invite each of you to just have a closing thought. You want to start, Angie?
Sure, I'll start. Again, when a person's passion and purpose is aligned, then they can typically find fulfillment. And so it's our hope that all of our high school students will find their passion, pursue that path, complete the path, and then find a job in Colorado that they can be fulfilled. Because when that happens, when everyone has equal access to that pathway and to the opportunity, that's when we succeed as a state. And so democratizing a potential, activating that potential, leaving no potential unactivated. It's up to us as those who run departments, those who run organizations, it's up to us to make sure that we bring all of our students in and find the support that's needed to help them succeed. When they succeed, we all succeed.
Well said.
Great. I'm happy to jump in then and provide just a few final remarks. I think similar to what Dr. Paccione has said, I think it's important for us to all understand that each of us play a critical role in addressing inequity and doing something about it. even though we each work at organizations that are embedded in this type of work every day, all day, that doesn't mean that others don't have a place in helping to address inequity and helping us to move the needle forward to ensure that students are getting what they need in order for them to be successful both now and in the future. So I think that it is definitely critically important to understand that it may look different for every person, depending on your role and your ability, your skill set, your experiences, the people that you're around. But what I would encourage everyone to do is to do something. Do something, because what it will do is it will provide for all of us an opportunity for our economy to grow stronger, for us to have a thriving community. And the quote that we all have heard before is that none of us can win until we all win. And that is very inclusive, and it makes sure that all of us have a role to play in everything that's happening here in our community and helping to address inequity.
You know, and I'm just going to jump in really quick and turn it back over to Carol. Is this notion of partnership and the critical piece that partnership plays in advancing ideas. And as we're thinking about what each of us can do, where can you partner? What organization can you partner to advance the goals of equity, of educational attainment? How can you take that one next step of additional relevancy to the work that you're doing? And so through partnership and common vision, I also think that there's this opportunity to move together in a direction that creates clear pathways and structures and systems that work for students and families and that work for Colorado. So I've been thrilled to be a part of this. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you all, and it was very informative and very inspiring, and we look forward to supporting you all in any way we can. And the other silver lining to this COVID situation is that we don't have to limit our first year leadership class this summer to 100, we can have 500. So any of the other folks that you all want to have be part of that, it's going to be happening June 5th and 6th. So we look forward to that, and then we're doing a survey with students after that to really get a beat on what's happening for them during COVID-19. So thank you all so much. And as we said earlier, this is going to be posted on the YouTube channel. It'll be up by the end of the day, and we'll have it as part of the newsletter tomorrow. And we have another session this afternoon at 1 o'clock with the folks from ACUE, and several other sessions yet, 5 more this week, including on Friday, college presidents with Dr. Crystal Rose, looking at post-pandemic models for higher education. So we hope you'll join us for whatever you have time for. And if you don't have time this week live, that you're able to catch it later at your leisure on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. And thanks, Celeste, for jumping in, and also to Lisa for planning all of this. So hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and thanks again for your great work. Get the virtual applause going. Take care.